Welcome back. The president of Raise Your Voice St. Lucia, Catherine Seelys, is calling on the powers that be to get to the root of the many problems plaguing the Boys Training Center.
The Boys Training Center was established to provide care, protection, and rehabilitation for vulnerable young boys in St. Lucia. But in over 60 years of existence, the institution has been plagued with many issues, including infrastructure, its executive body, and adequate programs for the wards to be engaged in. In a 2014 performance audit report, it was established that the current organizational structure lacked key positions to function effectively and efficiently. The physical security was deplorable, and the center did not have an aftercare program that supported the wards after their release. Since that audit, there have been attempts to introduce programs like the CVQs, but Raise Your Voice President Catherine Seelys says the problems at hand are too big to be tackled by such tactics.
Boys Training Center, and by extension the government of St. Lucia and the supervising ministry at the given time, is always coming up with a story like they do CXC, we doing X, we doing Y. This does not take care of the fundamental issues at the institution. The fundamental issues are very worrisome, it's very gruesome, it's a violation of rights of children, and the government, the same convention on the rights of the child, the government signed. So whatever it is, there's like just putting a band-aid you buy from M&C drugstore on a big bobo on your foot that's smelling and leaking.
Seelys says that efforts by government have only proved to be a deterrent of fundamental issues plaguing the institution.
So tell the government go and do their jobs and stop trying to manipulate people in St. Lucia thinking that they're doing something. The place needs to be demolished. It's clear and simple. This place are bad spirits. This place just not good.
In the past, a number of independent reviews, investigations, and program evaluations have been carried out on the operations of the BTC, but they have not led to significant improvements in the delivery of its services. For the Hot 7 News, Nisha Charles reporting.
Thank you, Nisha. The communications officer at the Water and Sewage Company Inc. WASCO says some of the company's infrastructure was damaged due to torrential rains. She says interruptions in the water supply should be expected.
St. Lucia has experienced torrential rains for days on end. Many communities such as Dennery, Labrie, Beausejour, and Castries have experienced flooding and landslides. Increased rainfall, however, does not equate to a steady supply of water in the taps. Communities complain that they are experiencing water shortages during the heavy rains. The communications officer at the Water and Sewage Company WASCO, Sherry-Ann Gillard Williams, says these shortages are as a direct result of how vulnerable WASCO's infrastructure is.
Anytime it rains, you would find that customers would experience the water disturbances. So we have a lot of issues of siltation. We have a lot of turbidity issues whenever it rains heavily, and this is because the river would swell, and of course the swells would come down with a lot of mud, a lot of stones, a lot of debris, and so on. And it's not a situation where you can distribute that quality of water to customers.
Williams explained that the rains damaged some of the company's infrastructure. However, the water shortages that were experienced due to that issue were only temporary. She explains that torrential rains will continue to pose a challenge for WASCO.
In order for the purification or the treatment process to begin, we have to allow the water to settle, and then for the treatment process to then continue. Because this is not something that we can undertake during periods of heavy rain, you would find that customers would experience interruptions in their water supply. It is not something that is usually planned, but it is something that has to be done anytime we experience heavy rains. This is just how the treatment process, this is the type of treatment process that we employ in St. Lucia. So you find that customers would experience, water supply interruptions for short periods of time.
Williams says despite the drought being over and the John Compton Dam being replenished, members of the public are still being advised to conserve water and engage in rainwater harvesting. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Genevieve Gonzalez.
The Ministry of Agriculture says it has been working on a way to tackle the problem of youth unemployment through a program aimed at giving them an opportunity to work and earn a decent living. The Deputy Director of Agricultural Services, Barry Innocent, says the program has been beyond successful and highlights the zeal that youth have to work. He says the program is a major help in the fight to keep the youth off the streets. Rochelle Gonzalez tells us more.
The question asking what is being done to get the youth off the streets, as well as why can't the young idle St. Lucians be sent to work in the vast agricultural sector, has been answered by a member of the Ministry of Agriculture on Tuesday. Deputy Director of Agricultural Services Barry Innocent told Hot 7 TV that efforts have been made to do just that, allowing the nation's youth to earn a living for themselves through honest and hard work. Innocent said this has been done through the Youth Agriculture Enterprise Program.
This program sought to introduce a lot of youth, including young men, and we got a lot of young men and young women actually involved in this project. It started as a project and now it is a program where we assisted them in terms of providing, in some cases they provided a variety of land. When I say land, listed land. The land was given to them to use temporarily to get their footing. They also provided technical cooperation. Some of them were given inputs, farm inputs, or supplies they would need to get started. There was also an interjection of funds at the St. Lucia Development Bank so that these people can apply for loans to give them that initial capital they need to start off.
Innocent said the ongoing project has proven to be highly successful.
The program has been going quite well, and we've had a lot of youth come on board. We first started with about 400 and something youth that showed interest. But there's a little lingering getting everything together, and we have a smaller number now. But it went very well, and a lot of youth who went into agriculture, a few into agro-processing.
The Deputy Director said the overwhelming response is very telling about the youth's yearning to find employment.
Most people thought youth have no interest in agriculture, but that was not the case. I must be honest with you, there appears to be a greater populace of youth that have shown interest in agro-processing and agro-technology, the use of IT and computer software in agricultural enterprising. But generally, a lot of youth were interested because they are seeking a means of generating income. When you look at the thousands of students that graduate every year, and they're looking for jobs. So self-employment is one of the ways of providing employment.
Innocent indicated that now is the opportune time for the youth to capitalize on the opportunities presented to them through this program. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Rochelle Gonzalez.
U.S. President Donald Trump is to seek a partial recount of votes in the state of Wisconsin, which his rival Joe Biden is projected to win by 20,000 votes. Hours before a Wednesday deadline, the Trump campaign said it wanted a recount in the counties of Milwaukee and Dane, alleging irregularities. State officials received $3 million from the Trump campaign to cover the costs of the recount. Trump still refuses to concede the election and continues to make unsubstantiated claims of massive voter fraud. His campaign team has filed a flurry of lawsuits contesting the results in key states, although election officials say there is no evidence of widespread irregularities. President-elect Joe Biden, a Democrat, is projected to have won the popular vote by more than 5.6 million ballots, or 3.6 percentage points. In the U.S. Electoral College system that decides the presidency, he has 306 votes to Trump's 232. Stay with us. You're watching the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. We'll be right back.